Napoleon Bonaparte of France, his mystical experience inside the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. And we know that there was a lot of interest in Egypt at that time, basically the beginning of Egyptology, not only by the French, but by the English and others, Americans, Russians. There was something of an amulet that was given to Napoleon by the Imam that took him inside the Great Pyramid. The Imam told him he was one of 3 emperors in the past 3,000 years that was given an amulet to give him victories. The first one was Alexander the Great, about 300 some odd BC. The second one was Julius Caesar. And then the third one was Napoleon Bonaparte of France. But Napoleon Bonaparte lost his amulet in a fire in an Austrian inn. And from then on, he started having defeats. But let's see what his experiences were inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. As we know, he had a historian with him, and various people were keeping journals of his accounts from where he was going, his battles, everything. So most people don't know that Napoleon Bonaparte had a mystical experience inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. When a few of his most trusted men asked Napoleon what had happened inside of the pyramid, Napoleon replied, "Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me." And his quote was, "From the heights of these pyramids, 40 centuries look down on us." It said that one night of August in 1799 changed the course of the world history as Napoleon Bonaparte was inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, experiencing a secret that would forever alter Napoleon's destiny. If we look back into history, we'll find out that on summer of 1798, more than 30,000 French soldiers came to Egypt under the command of General Napoleon Bonaparte. 30,000. Now, his official mission was to free the country of the Nile from the 3 centuries of Turkish rule, and incidentally, to block the free navigation of the English with their eastern colonies. But the young Napoleon did something no other person had ever done. He took with him more than 100 scholars from all disciplines to study, write down, and copy all they could find from the land of the pharaohs. Temples, tombs, mummies, tunnels, lavish treasures, and the sacred pyramids opened up, revealing to the world a fascinating history. In fact, it was Napoleon's expedition, which was as military as scientific, when the European continent rediscovered the lost treasures of ancient Egypt, and even found a key that allowed the entire world to understand what ancient Egyptians wrote down thousands of years ago. As one of Napoleon's soldiers was digging a trench around the medieval fortress of Rachid, he found by chance one of the most important ancient Egyptian artifacts in history, the Rosetta Stone, which helped scholars finally decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Rosetta Stone was written down in 3 versions: hieroglyphs, Demotic, and Greek. From the Greek writings, researchers were finally able to find an equivalent in hieroglyphs and establish a sort of code to be able to read the ancient Egyptian hieroglyph texts. But Napoleon's campaign to Egypt also served a spiritual quest to the land that had disturbed the imagination of great characters of history before him. Like many of his contemporaries, Napoleon was attracted by the Oriental exoticism that he'd read a very popular work by that time, The Journey to Egypt and Syria by Constantine Volney, that was published about 10 years before he went to Egypt. It was published in 1787, which told of numerous mysteries of the civilizations of the area. During his campaign, Napoleon traveled to the Holy Land as well, and to confront the Turkish army and incidentally rest for a night in Nazareth. This trip took place on April 14 of 1799. During the same year in August, Napoleon returned to Cairo, when he decided he would sleep inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. He was accompanied to the king's chamber, which at that time was difficult to access, with small and difficult passages that did not reach even a meter and a half high, that's about 4 feet in height, complicated beyond doubt by the lack of light, which a few torches did not solve. The king's chamber is located inside the pyramid and is a rectangular room about 10 meters long, 5 meters wide, formed by granite slabs, walls and smooth ceiling, completely undecorated, and only contains an empty granite sarcophagus without any marks, deposited there during construction pyramid, since it is too large to fit through the passages. The great Napoleon spent around 7 hours inside of the Great Pyramid, and just at dawn he came out of the pyramid pale and frightened. When a few of his most trusted men asked Napoleon what had happened inside of the pyramid, Napoleon replied, "Even if I told you, you would not believe me." It's believed that the night Napoleon spent inside of the Great Pyramid changed his life forever. Even though he returned to France defeated, politically speaking, Napoleon achieved great victories in the following months. He managed to end the government of the French Revolution and initiated the consulate as Napoleon Bonaparte as a leader. Interestingly, according to Peter Tompkins in his classics Secrets of the Great Pyramid, Bonaparte wanted to be left alone in the king's chamber as Alexander the Great did before him. Obsessed throughout his career with other key historical figures, Napoleon tried to emulate the footsteps of Alexander the Great of ancient Greece and also Julius Caesar of Rome, who allegedly had also spent a night in the chamber alone while searching for the greater purpose. As we said before in one of my previous videos about Napoleon, the imam who was in charge of the pyramid at that time gave Napoleon an amulet to give him victories. He said, "You are the third emperor to come here in 3,000 years who received such an amulet." But as we said, yes, and it will give you victories, he said. He was getting victories, but then one night he, in a fire at an inn in Austria, he had to evacuate the inn, and the amulet was left behind, destroyed in the fire. And from then on, Napoleon was, instead of getting victories, he was getting defeats. Now, regrettably, whatever Napoleon experienced and saw between the walls of the king's chamber is a secret that he took to his grave with him. Countless legends were formulated on Napoleon's experience, including one that suggests Napoleon had some kind of vision where he saw himself as being the greatest emperor ever to live on the planet. Now tell me if that's not narcissistic. Now the Great Pyramid of Giza is by itself a mystical and magical place. Experiencing a night alone inside the pyramid is an unimaginable feeling. To spend the night inside of this imposing mass of stone is for most people a completely crazy idea. After some time, the simple fact of breathing has to make a terrible noise. But as mentioned above, Napoleon Bonaparte was not the only crazy to dare this. Speaking about the Great Pyramid, in his biography, famous occultist Aleister Crowley reported the following: "The king's chamber was aglow as if with the brightest tropical moonlight. The pitiful, dirty yellow flame of the candle was like blasphemy, and I put it out. In the morning, this astral light had disappeared completely, and the only sound that could be heard was the flutter of bats." Others, however, also reported strange visions while inside the Great Pyramid. In 1930, British theosophist and spiritualist Paul Brunton also described strange things that happened during his brief stay in the king's chamber. He said he was assaulted by visions of hostile creatures and surrounded by appearances of grotesque and demonic forms. So what causes these mysterious experiences inside the pyramid? And is it possible there is a greater force residing inside the pyramid? Interestingly, the granite blocks inside the royal chamber are a material that is able to conduct electricity. This is mostly granite. It has a very high concentration of quartz crystals, which is proven to have piezoelectric properties. In fact, all electronic objects we know today contain quartz. The ancient builders of the pyramid knew of these properties and may have utilized them in a way we are unaware of today. The mysterious electromagnetic properties inside the king's chamber was in fact proved empirically. On one occasion, one of the visitors that entered the pyramid received a small electric shock when he drank water from a metal cup. In addition, researchers also reported that the batteries of their cameras and research equipment were exhausted unaccountably while inside the pyramid. Could these electromagnetic anomalies explain visions and mystical experiences while inside the pyramid? And is it possible that these anomalies are evidence that the Great Pyramid of Giza is not a tomb as proposed by the mainstream scholars? Another theory that tries to explain the power of the Great Pyramid is that its geometric shape gives the structure the ability to concentrate cosmic energy, which among other things would help preserve the body of the pharaoh deposited right in the center construction. However, none of these pyramids of Giza contain any mummies. This has led many researchers to propose theories suggesting that the pyramids of Giza were not tombs, but rather giant energy machines. This is on Humans Are Free. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.